Trygge Toven, you are now an Emmy nominated music supervisor for Fallout. How does that sound?
Sounds pretty amazing. Really exciting, actually. Um, yeah, I mean, I love the show, but you just never know what to expect as when awards go. So it's pretty exciting.
How did you find out about the nomination?
I actually got a call from I've been working with a PR firm, White Bear PR, and they gave me a call. So I got kind of the fun call right in the morning, like the actors talk about. So that was pretty exciting.
At least it wasn't that early if you're in LA because it's like 8:30.
No, no,
It's
no.
not the 5:30 one.
Yeah, exactly. No, it was pretty good.
Well, the music in Fallout is like a character unto itself. But let's start from the beginning. Like this is a Westworld reunion for you and Jonathan Nolan and also Ramin Djawadi, the composer. So what is the shorthand you guys have now?
Yeah, it's interesting because there's so much going on, and I think there's just a lot of trust there. Also, working with the editorial team, a lot of the editors were same from Westworld as well, so they're an incredible part of that process, obviously, because they're the ones putting it actually to picture. So no, I think there's a little bit. It's definitely a shorthand because it's a little bit less setup and kind of let's just get going, and we all work together. So. I think that was really fun. This was different than Westworld because of the way that we used music. Obviously, like Ramin would actually do covers of the songs in Westworld, so that was a different process. So it was a little bit more of a handoff in this, for this show.
Hmm. And there's also the game element too, like music. I'm not familiar with the games, but I know there's music in the games, and you also incorporated some of the music from the games in the show. So how did you decide which ones? I know the ink spots is one of them. Like how did you
Yeah,
find
that's a big
the right
one.
moments for those?
Yeah, I think that was important to, knowing that there was certain kind of iconic stuff that had been used, songs that have been used in the game. So, and it has a certain tone in the game as well. So just trying to pay homage to that and then finding the right spots to where those songs that were more iconic for the game, how do we fit those into the narrative that we're trying to tell with the show? So yeah, I think that was a really important part of the process.
I what was like the your goal like going into the show with the license music? Because I feel you can really I feel like you did, but like you can really develop the distinct worlds of like the three main characters through the music, like the vault, they're so idealized and you have like 40s and 50s stuff and it's just kind of reflective of how they have no idea what's going on in the wasteland and the wasteland is more like outlaw type of stuff. So what was your approach for the different worlds?
Yeah, I think what we were going for was exactly that. I think, like you're saying, in the vault, they're kind of stuck in this world of, before the war. And that's why the music kind of reflects that. It's very, I guess, lighthearted, very utopian sort of, like everything's going to be okay sort of attitude. And that's kind of supporting that. So, a bit naive and definitely don't know the realities of the world, the rest of the world. And I think that they're just like continuing America's, and like on the way we need to do things. So I think that's how we try to speak to that. And then the wasteland, trying to keep within the same world. What was cool about that is the kind of Johnny Cash kind of outlaw country vibes of the wasteland, and it's from the same era, um, but it has a more gritty, realistic nature to the tone of the songs and the lyrics and everything. So um, I think that was really cool because you could keep it in the same world but very different tones, and it's kind of like the curtain has been pulled back once you're out of the vault.
Yeah, and the ghoul is like a combo of both of them because he has two lives in the past and now in the wasteland.
Yeah, no, so exactly. I mean, he's lived through all of it. So it's fun to do the flashbacks of the different eras when he was, acting and everything and using the music there, like the party at his house and everything. Um, and then, yeah, exactly. I mean, I think Ramin said it really well when he was setting up the themes for Cooper Howard. And then it's like the same themes for the Ghoul, but now it's just played in a crazy different way. So we try to do the same thing with the songs. Um, it's more about the journey he's gone on, and also just the crazy circumstances that he finds himself in now.
Hmm. Yeah, I love like I think I love the vault music the most because it's used in such an ironic way. Because it's like in real life, it's like, the post World War II music, because it's like that era is over and now it's like we can kind of move on with our lives and it's kind of sweet. But it's used, like we the viewers know like things are not okay for them there, and it's, retro futuristic. So how did you land on like which songs from that era, the 40s and 50s, and did you have like a hard like year out, like you didn't want to dip, too much like deeper into like 60s or anything?
There weren't as many actual rules per se, but because the games actually go pretty broad in what they went into the 60s. There's like Beach Boys and different stuff like that. I wanted to stick to a certain tone, and like you said, that kind of post-war feeling, where they're love songs, but they're really kind of speaking to the tragedies that they've been living through, and then speak it through the language of love, sort of. So I think that was kind of the plan there. But I think there's so much to pull from in that era. We know like the big artists, that the people we still remember from that time. I mean, it's so long ago at this point, so it's there's only a few songs that really stick out to ones that we still recognize, in this generation. So that was fun to pull stuff that no one had really heard of, and just kind of bring back those ideas, um, to the forefront. And there's so much good music from that era, so I had a lot to pull from for sure.
Mhm. Well, when it's something like that, like obviously, like the Johnny Cashes and like Bing Crosby and Nat King Cole and everyone, but when it is like lesser known artists, like did you run into any clearance trouble where it's like, you don't like no one even knows who owns the rights to the song, you
Yeah,
know?
that was the main issue in general, even with the big songs, because yeah, it may have been cleared 3 years ago, but now the rights have moved around and there's 15% missing, and they don't know, they don't even know where that, yeah, like you said, they don't know who owns that part. And it's funny because in clearance and publishing, the people that own, let's say they own 50% of it, they only know that they own 50% of it. They don't really keep track of
They
who
don't
else
care who
owns the
owns the other
rest.
50.
Yeah, that's kind of like our job to figure out. I worked with an amazing clearance team on this as well, and trying to, yeah, piece together all that is tough, especially when it's like the song that you really want. And then there's the way lesser known songs that are, you're kind of introducing. They may never have been like they were released, but they never really had a moment. And that's what's really fun, to find gems that fit the story, that somebody has it in a basement from their great grandpa, or wherever, and they're the kind of original to the world, but they're from that era. So that's also really fun, and it also helps the budget as well, just to get all the
Those are
pieces.
the cheapest ones.
And yeah.
What were there like which songs for that in that case, like that have basically never been cleared before in season one?
Oh man. Trying to think. I mean, it's not as, you try to usually use the bigger songs for the more featured moments. I'm trying to think of a specific song. Let's see here. I mean, there's, yeah, like Carl Kokomo. We have that in the first episode. I mean, he's not an unknown, but he's definitely not being Crosby. So it's like, that kind of pulling it out of the vault sort of thing, And even the Scatman Crothers song, keep that coffee hot, which is just such a fun moment. And it's definitely not like a big song, but it's yeah, I think it's just pulling it back out of there. I don't know if specifically it's something that we use for the first time completely, but they're definitely way less known, so
Mhm.
it's fun to kind of shine light on that.
Yeah, for sure. I love, sometimes, in shows and movies where the needle drop is kind of cheeky and on the nose, but it works. And like you kind of do that a few times here, like in the closing credits of the series premiere, it's Crawl Through the Fallout. And I'm like, that's nice. That's funny. So how did you also choose those moments when to employ that tactic?
Yeah, I mean that one is I think that's in the game as well. And it's yeah, I mean it's just it's fun because they're those like you said, they're cheeky where they're like pointing to exactly what's happening, but in a, kind of a hopefully smart way. It's not too like, I'm hammering on a nail while like you're watching someone do that. But so it's like finding those moments where you can try to like kind of poke fun at what's happening with the music. And I think that fits the tone of the show as well, where there's, it's dramatic, but then there's comedic moments, and it's, you can really play with that. And what was fun about the like, what Jonah and Allie were telling me, and Geneva and Graham, the showrunners, to try to have that balance between drama and irony. And the irony is definitely weighing heavy on the songs, especially in the beginning and with the Vault Dwellers. So I think it's really helping that, that they're living this happy life, but then, you're kind of poking at it with the irony with the songs, and the score would really play up the drama. So it would kind of take over and hand off like that. So we had a lot of fun with that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, in that same vein, the use of Some Enchanted Evening in the premiere, the dual use, that was great. So how did that come about? Was that something that, you thought of for those sequences, or, something like I guess like also like is there ever a point like, in any script where it's written like we want like, this sequence like set to the song too?
I mean, it's typical to have songs scripted in movies. There weren't I don't think there was anything scripted in this project. Other than the idea that we would probably use some from the game. But that song in particular was probably the only one that for sure was planned ahead of time. Like I think that came from Jonah, where he was directing that episode and he had that in mind when he was shooting that. I believe that didn't come from me directly, but that one we knew we had to make happen, right? Because it was like it was cut to the song, that whole sequence, and it's really long. So it was just a really important one to try to pull off on the clearance end to, because then it was like, oh, what do we do if it doesn't clear? So yeah, that was definitely an important one. But I think it was, yeah, I mean, it played so many roles in all those moments for sure.
Yeah, for sure. And it's also perfect for the character of Lucy as well, because she's so naive in the beginning. And then, throughout the season, she becomes more jaded as she gets exposed to the wasteland. And that's also kind of reflected in music as well. So how did you go about picking those selections for her like throughout the season?
Yeah, I think that was a big focus, was trying to think about Lucy's trajectory throughout the season, because obviously, yeah, I mean, she's the one that has the biggest trajectory and the biggest change. I think a lot of the characters go through a lot, but I think, yeah, like you said, start with the, basically being very naive at the beginning and about what her reality is, and then just using the songs and the lyrics to, like, when she's in the shop, when she's in the mart, when she's I mean, really, when she has to actually shoot someone, and pulling, as the songs are kind of, they're still in that vein, but they're speaking to it, just a little bit more as throughout. So I think that was also, as she gets entangled with Maximus's character and the wasteland, and so we're using more wasteland like songs, but they're still pulling from that. I think the only song from the 60s was the oh gosh, now I'm blanking on the name, but the Ladyfingers song,
Oh,
the Herb Alpert.
okay.
That one, I mean, it was really fun because it's still kind of lighthearted, but it's almost this kind of westerny thing. So they have this standoff. So I think it just using those moments to kind of, get her into the where she's really gonna grow as a character throughout the season, and obviously by the end, she's quite a changed person, even in the first season. So
Yeah, even the way she says okie dokie completely.
yes, yeah. No, it's amazing.
Yeah. So what is your process like for finding and compiling songs? Do you just have like a playlist? Like I want these for like episode one and these for episode two, and do you like send them off to, Jonah and Graham and Geneva?
Yeah, I mean, it starts out with a big pile of ideas based on reading the scripts, and then sending those to the editors and the showrunners, the producers, and just kind of talking about what's needed in different places and finding that tone. This one in particular was a little different because there was there's a bit of a tone built into the game already. So it's like, how are we going to use that tone? Are we going to go all the way with it? Are we going to start there as a starting place and then try to tell it in a narrative way because it's used differently. The music plays, but it doesn't really speak to what you're doing necessarily in the game. Um, so yeah, that's usually the process, is pulling a bunch of ideas. And then as we start piecing together scenes, they're asking me for ideas specific to what is needed throughout the part. So I sometimes, if something's obviously a music moment, then I'll send specifics for that. But it's really about just kind of getting a bunch of ideas together and then having a lot of conversations throughout the process.
Mhm. Well, lastly, season 2. Have you started any work on it? What can you say? Do you know anything?
I don't know anything. I hear they're writing. That's about all I know. I haven't started anything myself yet. No, I'm obviously thinking about it
Mhm.
on my end, but we haven't had any conversations yet. So I'm sure there's going to be a lot more room for growth in the characters and music from the same sort of tone. I would think, but I don't know. We'll see.
Are there any like leftover songs that you didn't use in season 1 for any reason, or you're just like, I like the song, but I'm gonna keep it in my back pocket for a future season?
Oh yeah, tons. I mean, there's certain scenes where you're like, we tried 50 songs and then it ends up being score because it just fit the moment the best, and a lot of those ideas. So yeah, there's a lot of really good music waiting, already ready to go. So we'll see if it maybe it fits, maybe it doesn't. You never know, depending on what the script is. But yeah, a lot of stuff ready to go for sure.
Then just save it for season 3. There you go.
Yes, exactly. Let's keep it going for sure.
Oh, Trygge, it was great speaking with you. Thanks so much for your time, and congratulations again on the nomination, the show, everything.
Thank you so much.